So I am the secret footballer. I've never said that out loud before. I think the thing with football, because I came at it from a completely different angle, which was I never set out to be a footballer. It was one of those things that just kind of happened. You know, I wanted to be a travel writer. I wanted to get around the world and I wanted someone to pay me to do it. So I fell into football. And the reason I fell into football was because I was playing for a non-league team and our striker broke his leg and I was put up front to take his place. And I managed to score these goals. But I remember having a real sort of clarity of thought that it was a big opportunity. And I think that's something that it speaks to a lot of people who go on and have some kind of a success, which is it's recognizing when your opportunity has presented itself and not missing it. There's a lot of people who don't recognize the opportunity that's in front of them and they end up missing it. It just passes them by. And there's opportunities in life every day, every week, every month, every year, if you're alert and if you're looking for them. And I remember having a real thought, even then at a young age, that was a real opportunity to make a mark. Fortunately for me, I was able to take advantage of it and I became a professional footballer and found myself eventually playing in the Premier League. The culture of that club at the time, that's the thing that you might miss from the outside looking in. We had talented players, but we had something more than that. That we had a culture in our club, which was everyone was super hungry to get to the next phase, which was to get to the Premier League. You know, we could never have imagined that we would break the points record and it would still be standing 20 years later. But the seeds were sown for the club to be successful, you know, right from the chairman to the director of football, to the management, to the recruitment, and the way that we went about that recruitment, which was trying to find players that had been missed. It was very much a Moneyball style, and bringing players on a budget. So for example, the whole squad cost about £3.5 million. For comparison, the team that finished second, Sheffield United, had spent £5 million on a striker, on one player. So I've always been fascinated by that. That really is where my sort of passion for the psychology of football and the culture of the workplace and what can be achieved when you have a really good culture that everybody buys into. There's no limits if you get that right. When we got to the Premier League, I found it almost very chess-like. It was the game was very chess-like in terms of it was really easy to spot the patterns that teams were trying to do against you. And we played in a very aggressive, front-footed, almost swashbuckling style of football, which is entertainment. That's what we grew up with. That style of football comes from the culture instilled at the club and into the players, which is if we trust you to be the best players that you can be, that will lead to a self-motivation. And that self-motivation can be used to push yourselves under your own steam and push each other. And that really was the key to it. That was fundamental to the success that we had at Reading. And as I say, you once you've got that, and it's hard to get, but it's the trust. If you give the players the trust, they'll reward you with their own self-motivation, and then the team becomes stronger than the sum of its parts. In the Premier League, you saw really good players, but not always a team. And because of that, you were able to beat them. Well, I think it was the reverse of what I've said. The culture at Stoke was totally different. It was more of a dictatorship, and everything was hardwired for one way of doing things. There wasn't any trust, there was no room to express yourself as an individual. It was very much, you know, right down to the things that you ate, the way that the chef cooked the food, no salt in the dinner. It was really, really regimented, and it was a totally alien culture and concept to me, and not something that, just wasn't something that I was into. It wasn't something that I wanted to be a part of. It didn't matter how much they paid me to do it. I had no interest in being a part of that culture. When I think back to my time at Portsmouth, the resilience that we had to show as players, you know, we were in a really, really difficult situation. The club was in administration, nobody was being paid. The club had said we could leave, but not all of us had other clubs that we could go to. And we needed the training to stay fit for the time that an opportunity might arise for us to go and play somewhere else. You know, we couldn't just sit at home and not do anything. So we were kind of trapped in this environment. The fans didn't want us to be there, and it was toxic. It became really, really toxic, and it was really unfortunate for everybody concerned. It was a real catch-22 for everybody. But the resilience, you really, really needed resilience, and also, you know, people get very emotive about football. Very, you know, the fans particularly, but especially if they think their club is genuinely going to go to the wall. Of course, you know, you have all the empathy as much as anybody else, but you also have your own life to take care of as well. So it's very, very difficult. But I think that the emotion that the fans were showing, what I learned, you know, it would spill over into anger and aggression at times. And I think what I learned is to try and kill them with kindness. You know, to try and make them see the situation, that you know, that there was a human element to this as well, which needed to be factored in, which perhaps they hadn't considered. Culture is everything. Culture is absolutely everything. If you've got a good culture, you can achieve high performance. With a really good culture, so we start from a really simple premise, which is we give the players trust. We give them psychological safety, so we create an environment where they are comfortable airing any problems that they have, any ideas that they have, anything that's on their mind, they are free to say it and they're comfortable. They might not always get their own way, but it's about offering those players the trust to be able to come out with this stuff and say what's on their mind. And from trust, from giving those players a trust, you will breed self-motivation. They will bond a lot quicker as a squad, and that's exactly what's happened. And we've done that across the football club, and it's been really, really successful. So I am the secret footballer. I've never said that out loud before. There's been a huge amount written about it. It was an idea that came to me in a moment where I wasn't happy with where football was going as a whole, and I needed an outlet to express it, and I needed it for my own mental health. You know, I've been writing ever since I was a kid. It's a passion of mine. As I said at the top, I wanted to be a travel writer. That was my passion. Maybe I'll get to do it one day. But the writing was really cathartic. It really helped me to process a lot of what was going on in football, and things that just didn't make any sense to me at all. Is it something that I would do again, knowing what I know now? Probably not. People from all over the place come up to me and ask me the same question, and it's you run out of excuses in the end. But it's kind of nice to unburden myself of the whole thing. It started, so the Secret Footballer was never a naming names thing. That's not what it was about at all. It was, this is what happens in this industry, and it made an attempt to say why it happens that way. But like I say, a lot of the time it never made any sense. So I would write this stuff, and leave it for people to decide or pick through and form their own opinions. It was fun for a while, and then it became something which bred a huge amount of anxiety. You know, I had a football career, I had a big contract, and if I had been outed, I would have been sacked on the spot and ostracised from the game. Now enough time has passed where you could look back at it and you know, everybody's got a podcast now. You can't stop people from talking about football. Everybody has an opinion, but what's changed is that now everyone has an outlet to express that opinion. Everybody. It wasn't like that back then. The stuff that was in the columns and in the books was genuinely new. People hadn't heard it before. And it changed. It changed football in this country. It changed the way things are done. It led to some real overhauls at the highest levels, which I'm proud of, but the stress that it caused, the anxiety, you know, the very worst thing that happened to me was I wrote an article, and this is back at a time when people didn't talk about mental health. Nobody talked about mental health in football. If you spoke about your mental health, you didn't play. You were seen as weak. There's still a little bit of that now. I really wanted to change that. I really wanted to bring that conversation to the fore because I was struggling myself. And I wrote a column for The Guardian called Sometimes There's Darkness Behind the Light. And it was about my own struggles. And it said that there was an epidemic in football, a mental health epidemic, which there was and still is. And it made a prediction that it was only a matter of time before somebody would take their own life. And that column went out I submitted it on the Friday, it went out on the Saturday, and on the Sunday, they found Gary Speed dead. And that's when the whole secret footballer idea and concept became not fun anymore. And it gave the column this credibility in the worst possible way, And it was really difficult, and I suffered and struggled with guilt for a long time that I hadn't written that column earlier, and that we might have prevented what happened from happening. And I struggled with that. And then I just became so angry at the authorities for being really passive on the issue of mental health and not doing enough and not helping. And I still feel anger towards them. But fortunately, the people that were in those positions are no longer there, and things have changed and things have got better. But that tragedy was just the most horrendous thing that could ever happen. I felt such sympathy for his family, and just it was so unnecessary. And yeah, that was the day that the Secret Footballer went from being a sort of a cult column to this thing that everybody was now going to as this sort of Bible on football. And like I say, it was credibility in the worst possible way. And I just, not long after, stopped, and I disappeared, and I stopped writing. For me, this goes back to culture. If you build a good culture, you can achieve anything. If you have a rotten culture, and you'll see this, there are examples of this across the football world, there's examples of this across the business world. If you breed a poor culture, your results will be poor. You know, there's hundreds of experiments that have been done on this, which is, you know, one of the most famous of which is the tug of war. If you've got one person on each side, typically they'll give 96% of their effort. If you add one more, so there's two on each side, it goes down. Eventually, if you've got 8 on either side, people will typically only give about 46% of their maximum effort. And that comes from a rotten culture. It's that people hiding in plain sight. If you create the opportunity in a business for people to flourish and be themselves, and give them the trust the trust to make mistakes, the trust to say something, the trust to put their hand up and mention a new idea, to perhaps deliver something that might not necessarily be in their remit, you will eventually create a self-motivation. And that's the key to it. That's the key to it. Wherever you see a successful football club, wherever you see a successful business, it is the culture. It's the higher echelons giving the trust to everybody to be themselves, to say what they think. They might not always get their own way, but the freedom to say what they want to say. And then from there you get this self-motivation, and you get a happy group of people. If I could go back and give one piece of advice to myself, don't write those books. Yeah, don't write those books. They were fun at the time. They were fun. The columns were really fun. It helped me mentally. But I often, people always want more and more of you. Whatever you give of yourself is never quite enough. And I say this to a lot of parents, kids, and they're going in, they want them to get into football. The parents sometimes are more pushy than the kids. They want it more for the kids. They've seen the rewards. But I always say, just remember, they don't just let you play football. They don't. It's not like now where you turn up, you play football, you go home, and you put the telly on. It's a lifestyle, and sometimes it is not a very nice lifestyle. You give over pieces of your soul to people, 100%. And you are either the type of person that can survive that, or you struggle. And I know a lot of people that have struggled. And I know a lot of people who wish they'd never done it. I'm glad that I played football. I saw a lot of things. It did help to shape me. Would I miss it if I hadn't done it? Probably not. But it's the same with anything. It's if you want to be a footballer, you need to remember they don't just let you play football. They will take everything they can from you. And at the end of the day, it'll just be you.